Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. Before we begin, let me introduce some members of town government that act as advisors to this board. To my left is Simone Freeman and Rachel Lenberger. They are both counsel to the board from the town attorney's office. To their left is Blaise Donadio, a senior planner with the planning department. To his left is Matt Mazzaros, planner in the planning department. To his left is Sabrina Butita with the Department of Environment and Waterways. You are here this evening seeking relief from the town zoning ordinance. New York State statute requires that any town that adopts zoning must also have a board of appeals to act as a relief valve so that persons can seek relief without the expense of legal proceedings. The most common kinds of applications before this board are area variances. Area variances deal with dimensions of lot area, frontage, height, setbacks, and parking reductions. New York State statute mandates that the board must consider the following 5 criteria when evaluating area variances. When you come to the podium to present your application, please do your best to address these 5 considerations. 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created. 2, whether the applicant has other feasible alternatives. 3, whether the variance is substantial. 4, whether an adverse impact on the environment will be created. And 5, whether the alleged difficulty is self-created. This board also has the authority to grant special exceptions, also known as a special use permit or conditional use permit. This is a use that is permitted by zoning, but under specific conditions designed to ensure compatibility with the surrounding area and the overall zoning plan. If all of the general and specific requirements are met, this board must approve the application. If they are not, this board must deny the application unless they request variances. At that point, the 5 considerations and balancing tests shall be applied. What is the balancing test? The statute requires that the board balance the interest of the applicant and those of the neighborhood or community. The board shall grant the minimum variance it deems necessary and adequate, while at the same time preserving and protecting the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The board has the power to impose reasonable conditions that relate to the variances. Regarding procedures, cases will be called in the order that they were advertised. When your case is called, please come forward, submit your affidavits and mailing receipts to Mr. Donadio, and then the applicant will be given the opportunity to explain to the board why the variance is needed. Again, please address the 5 considerations. After the applicant is done speaking, all interested parties will be given one opportunity and only one opportunity to be heard. Please organize your thoughts and keep your remarks factual, related to the case, as well as the variances being sought. Then we will ask the applicant to come back to the podium to address your concerns. The board will then close the case and reserve decision. After all hearings are closed, the board will review cases and decide some of them, and others will be reviewed at a later date. There are 3 ways to find out about your case. The first is you can wait until after the public hearing, but there's no guarantee that the board will act on that case tonight. The second way is to check the website after 11 a.m. tomorrow. The third way is applicants can wait and be notified by mail. After the case is closed, no additional information or testimony can be submitted. I believe we have one adjournment for tonight. It is case number 19299, Lauren Gurin. Is anyone here for that application? I believe we're going to give them June 10th, so that'll be heard on June 10th. And that is it for me. Blaise, the floor is yours.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first case on the agenda, case number 19250, 655 Middle Country Road, LLC. 655 Middle Country Road, St. James, the location of the property, the north side of Middle Country Road, 333 feet west of Lake Avenue. The property is owned WSI. The applicant is requesting a certificate of existing use for an existing 863 square foot barber shop.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Carmine Grasso from Cataldo Grasso Architects, office at 14 Carl Avenue in Smithtown.
And we have the power of attorney.
Oh, actually, I have my client
Oh,
is
you
here
want
with me.
staff to come up first?
You know, it is an adjournment, so I didn't know if I had to do that again, but yeah.
Good evening. Can we have your name and address for the record?
Yeah, Banu Gokstein. I'm one of the owners of the building.
Can you spell your name,
Yes,
please?
first name is Banu, B-A-N-U. Last name is Gokstin, G-O-K-S-T-I-N. And I'm here with our architect, Carmine, and he's going to represent us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I submitted the affidavit of posting. Since this was an adjournment, we didn't have to do mailing. So to go back with a little history on this, I appeared before this board on February 25th to request a certificate of existing use for a barber shop that's existed on the property in a WSI zoning district. At that time of the hearing, it was adjourned, and they wanted to allow us, you guys wanted to allow us a chance to provide proof that the barber shop or a similar use has existed on that property since we had said it's back in the 1970s. The former property owner, unfortunately, is unwilling to give us any kind of a letter stating what any of the former uses were in the spaces in the building. Don't know why, but he's reluctant to do that. We did get in touch with the barber shop owner that had been in the site previous to the one that's there now. He had gone into the space in 1999. His name is Al Amore from Tailored Mail. You'll see that I had submitted a letter that he had prepared stating that prior to him being there was a hair salon in the space that had dated back to the 1970s. So we have that as a record. And then we also submitted records from the tax assessor's office. Those records show that there was actually retail stores in the space going back to when the building was first constructed in 1967. I know that is after the zoning ordinance where WSI was adopted. I believe that was 1964. So the building was constructed after that in 1967. But we see when the building was built that they allowed a non-conforming use, which was retail stores, and that was recognized by the town and in the tax assessor's records. So what we're here to say is that since that retail use existed in the building from its construction, we feel that the issuance of a CEU for the personal service use is warranted. The town code lists retail or personal service store under the same use in their parking schedule. So we feel that to allow the use to continue after 50 years would not impact the neighborhood or the environment. It's no more intensive a use than the retail use which the town records show existed when the building was built. I'd also like to stress further that denying this application would cause an undue hardship to the tenant, the barber, who would have to close his business or relocate. And finding a location may not be easy for him. He does have a very big following in the town. The two barbers that are in the barber shop right now are both family men. They have, between the two of them, they have 9 children, and to have them have to change their location or close up would be really difficult for them. And finally, while we understand that this doesn't fit the exact definition of a CEU, it does fit the spirit of the definition, we feel. All we're doing is asking to continue a non-conforming use that's existed in this building since it was constructed in 1967. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Yes, one question for you. In the 1980s, I believe in the town code, office business was a permitted use in the WSI zone.
Okay.
Can you just elaborate on the record as, from what we understand, office business, if it existed in that time frame, then we're just looking for something to be able to hang our hat
Right.
on, that we can legally issue a CEU for this property. Do you know if during the 80s, office or business was an existing
You know,
use?
I know the town attorney's office was researching the files. I did not get to check the old files myself. But if that use was in effect in the 1980s, then I feel that would
So
definitely.
what we're looking for is for you to state on the record that, or if you have some sort of proof that in the 80s, there was a business use on that property.
Oh, there definitely was a business use, yeah.
This would, correct.
Yes. Or I could state on the record by, with the letter that we received from the former tenant in the space, that there was a personal service shop, which was a hair salon, in the building since at least the 1970s.
And continually,
Yes, and that was continuous use till the current time.
Okay. Personal service shop since 1970s. Okay, anyone else have any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Do you think that she'd be willing to submit an affidavit if we held the record open for an affidavit swearing to that?
Who would,
You said the
The previous owner.
The
previous
former- the-
owner's wife, I
the
think?
former, it was the previous tenant's wife.
Okay.
I believe so. I mean, he was very willing to do the letter, so I'm assuming she would be able to do that as well, so,
Or a
yeah.
sworn statement, which
Yeah.
we would be able to take in as evidence.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we'll hold it open. I mean, obviously, we'll take any questions, but we'll hold the record open.
Okay,
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Planning, did you have anything?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Okay, so we're going to hold this open so that you can submit additional testimony, and then if you
Okay.
submit that to the planning department, then we'll just close it at the next hearing. You don't have to come back.
Okay, all right.
All right?
Sounds very good. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Have a good night. So we're holding it open.
We have the pictures?
The next case on the agenda is case number 19298, John Young, 9 Dean Court, Comac. The location of the property is the north side of Dean Court, 358 feet west of Ruth Boulevard. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 1 foot, to reduce the total side yard setbacks from 28 feet to 5 feet, for an existing 120-square-foot wood shed and existing 350-square-foot attached garage, to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 50 feet to 31 feet for an existing 240-square-foot roof over patio and existing 368-square-foot rear deck.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John Young, that's Y-O-U-N-G. I live at 9 Dean Court in Comac, New York. I'm here to apply for the 4 variances. I believe 3 of them are area variances, and 1 is a permit for a structure in the side yard. In answering the 5 questions, the improvements that were done to the house is looks like the neighborhood. It's nothing that sticks out, nothing that's not what you would see on any other house in the neighborhood. As far as an alternate feasible, it's already been built for the last 25 to 30 years. As far as any environmental, it's not in the environmental sensitive area or coastal area. And as far as, was it self-created? Partially, it was self-created. I hired a contractor back in 2000 to construct the garage and the deck, and he told me he was going to take care of all the permits, and I had nothing to worry about until recently when I found out nothing was done. And partially was the previous owner, where the awning and the shed was there from the previous owner when I bought the house. So that was already there when I bought it.
Thank you. Anyone on the board like to be heard on this one? Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Would anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, case closed. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19300, 276 Old Comac Road, LLC. 276 Old Comac Road, Kings Park, the location of the property, the south side of Old Comac Road, 400 feet north of Winnecomac Circle. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 60 feet to 9 feet for a proposed 270-square-foot first-floor side addition, a proposed 849-square-foot second-floor addition, a proposed 193-square-foot front porch, a proposed 586-square-foot garage addition, and an existing 308-square-foot side addition. To reduce the minimum side yard setback from 24 feet to 12 feet for a proposed 586-square-foot garage addition. To reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 100 feet to 17 feet for a proposed 270-square-foot first-floor side addition, proposed 849-square-foot second-floor addition, proposed 586-square-foot garage addition, and existing 308-square-foot first-floor addition. To reduce the minimum distance from any lot line from 10 feet to 1 foot for an existing 150-square-foot shed. To increase the maximum gross floor area of the lot from 20% to 23%, adding to a lawful nonconforming structure.
Good evening.
My name is Lynn Giuliano, and together with my aunt Helen Kasitkis, we had purchased this home last year. We both have deep roots in Kings Park. I've lived here all my life.
I'm sorry, do you need the spelling on spelling on your last name?
Sure, Giugliano.
Thank you. Oh, and you're a member of the LLC?
Yes.
Okay.
To continue?
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, no problem. So as I was saying, I've lived here all my life, and my aunt Helen was also raised here. I'd like to share some background to highlight the longstanding connection our family has had to this property and explain why we're requesting this variance. Our family history in Kings Park dates back to the 1900s, early 1900s, when my great-grandfather, Adam Hagson, settled on Old Comac Road. I'm sorry? Hagson? Back in the early 1900s.
Hagzan.
So he settled on Old Comac Road, and he raised his 8 children there. At the time, the road didn't even have house numbers. As his children grew up, they built homes on this subdivided family land, and they raised their own families. The home that we're seeking a variance on was originally built by my grandfather, Matthew Gorecki Sr., and his wife, Dorothy Hagson. They bought their first 2 children to this home, my uncle and my mother. When they were expecting their 3rd child, they moved back to their original family home, which is 2 doors down. They then sold this house that we're requesting the variance on to my great aunt, my great aunt Rosie. She raised her own family there till she was in her 80s. And she could no longer live there, so her children had chosen to sell this home. And at the same time, my Aunt Helen had become a widow. So we saw this as a unique opportunity to buy this home again, and we're looking to return my aunt, who lives in Brooklyn, back to Kings Park. So purchasing this house brings her back to the community and ensures that we're close to being able to take care of her again. The house requires significant updates. Our goal is to bring it up to modern safety standards and make it as ADA compliant as possible, so my aunt could live there safely and comfortably for her rest of her years ahead. So to do this right, we hired William Cohen, who is a specialist with advanced training in ADA compliance, and thank you for considering our request.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions? Actually, I have, if the architect could come up, just give us your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. William Cohen, C-O-H-E-N, with Cohen Design Build Architects, 5512 Merrick Road, Massapequa.
Thank you. And just looking at the lot, because it is a very unique lot.
Very unique.
And it's obviously undersized where, in the R43.
Correct.
That porch on the front is the one thing that is a little concerning because it kind of encroaches on the front yard. Is it possible to scale that back a little bit, or?
It is only, I believe, about 5 or 6 feet deep, so we're just trying to keep it to a minimum. And as you expressed already, it's a tremendously undersized lot. I'm sorry, undersized lot based upon the zoning and based upon this incredible family history that they have. They didn't have house numbers back then or zoning laws or anything.
Yeah.
So we're trying to really work with what's there and trying to be sensitive to the community and to the family as well. So, in short, to answer that particular question, if we could scale it back, can I skim 8 or 9 inches off it? I'm sure, but just to make it usable to get up, I believe we're just shy of about 3 feet above grade. So we do need certainly steps to get up to it.
I don't think the steps are counted in the.
Oh, the steps are not
setback, though,
counted,
right?
all right.
No.
We're just trying to keep it to a minimum, so it's usable.
So currently it's at 6 feet?
Currently, the depth of the porch, I believe, is either 5 or 6 feet. 6 foot tops.
Okay. Okay, anyone else have any questions?
No, we all, I think, reviewed, we went to look at the house. So there are no neighbors across the street.
You really
Yeah,
can't
but-
see much of anybody. There's really no detriment to anybody
Yeah.
around. If anything, the home, as already mentioned, is in serious disrepair, and there's such a connection to this land, and they're trying to create a home that's worthy of the history that's there and also meet their needs. The first floor, it's a modest Cape-style home. We're trying to create first-floor living. It's not shown on the inside, on the outside, but on the inside, we actually have an ADA ramp on the inside garage, which is why we're calling for that garage. Trying to keep the ramp on the interior so that it doesn't impact the neighbors, let's just say. It's internal. But otherwise, it's continuous first-floor open concept living with 1 master suite. The upstairs is more or less just for family members or any help that she may need in the house. But other than that, it's basically a 1-story house for our purposes.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Planning?
I just wanted the board to be aware, obviously, the lot is very undersized for R43. That probably came about because very early on, after the zoning code was created, we have the Sunken Meadows State Parkway immediately to the west of the property. And when they were zoning the parkway, which is zoned R43, they would go out approximately 500 feet from the boundaries of the parkway and maintain the same zoning. So although the zoning is R43, the lot really is more of an R10 variety.
Sabrina?
Mr. Chairman, the current application to enlarge the existing single-family dwelling does require approval from the Department of Health. We need this information in order to complete our environmental review. We have notified the applicant's representative, therefore no decision will be made until we receive that information.
I will say that I have an application. It was submitted for septic.
Okay.
So I have an application number I can give you if you'd like.
And if they should have generated a receipt from the Department of Health?
I have an email I can show you if
Yeah,
you'd like.
that'd be great if you can forward that to our department.
Okay, that's fine, we have
Thank-
that.
thank you.
I will say one last thing, for whatever it's worth as well, with the zoning, as it relates to, as far as it relates to, I'm sorry, maximum gross floor area, you're allowed 20% in this area, and based upon the size of the lot and the fact that it's tremendously reduced based upon what existing zoning is, the fact that we're going for 23% as opposed to 20 is just slightly above that threshold. So we tried to be really sensitive to keep this thing as tight as we could.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, case closed. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Hot flashes. The next case on the agenda is case number 19301, Neon Court, 11 Sun Hill Road, Nesconset. The location of the property is the east side of Sun Hill Road, 505 feet north of Town Line Road. The property is zoned R15. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 16 feet to 10 feet, to reduce the total side yard setbacks from 34 feet to 29 feet, for proposed 462 square foot side addition for a front entry garage, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to 29% for a proposed asphalt driveway.
Good evening.
Good evening. Matthew Bush, architect on behalf of the homeowner, 2615 Union Boulevard, Islip.
And I believe we have a power of attorney.
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. We're here tonight for 11 Sun Hill Road. We're proposing a second-story addition and renovation to the existing single-family residence, including relocating the existing two-car garage outboard of the existing footprint of the structure as it is now. With that, we're requesting relief for the side yard, reducing that from 16 foot to 10 foot, and reducing the total side yard from 34 foot to 29 foot, and along with that, and reorienting the garage, a slight increase in the pervious coverage for that driveway area. We do feel that the proposal is within the character and nature of the adjacent neighborhood, which is primarily made up of similar type dwellings. Some of them still reflect this structure as it was constructed originally, where they all have two-car tuck-under garages. In our case, we're relocating that garage outboard of the structure. With the goal of maintaining the garage, the overall width of the structure requires a variance. We don't feel that it's significant in nature compared to the surrounding neighborhood. There are several structures which have done similar type improvements in terms of relocating that garage or pushing that closer to the lot line. My client has owned this house since '23, so they're trying to do their part in improving the neighborhood and improving their property while still maintaining the garage, which is a feature that most of the homes in the area have.
Anyone on the board have any questions? Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
All right. Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, case closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19304, Thomas Sinelli, 3 Peppermill Court, Comac. The location of the property is the south side of Peppermill Court, 57 feet east of Fulton Boulevard. The property is zoned R21. The applicant is requesting variances to reduce the minimum rear yard setback from 75 feet to 65 feet for proposed 560 square foot first floor rear addition and proposed 665 square foot second floor addition, to increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the front yard from 25% to 29% for an existing asphalt driveway and paver walkway.
Good evening.
Hi, my name's Thomas Sinelli, owner of 3 Peppermill Court, and I'm here with my architect who will speak on my behalf.
Martin Passante, office at 178 Bayview Avenue, Northport, New York.
Could you spell your last name for us?
Passante.
Thank you.
We're looking for a rear yard setback relief. The actual construction is going to be 10 feet, which puts us, I believe the setback is right up against the house. So, I mean, the whole reason for the relief is to get the addition in. It fits in with the context of the neighborhood. Most of the other houses all have rear yard additions in this area. We still have 65 feet, which is a substantial backyard setback. The front area paved variance is something that was already there, so we're actually unaware of it until we applied for the variance for the rear yard. The rear yard addition is going to be added to the kitchen and the living areas of the house. Is there any questions?
I'll find out. Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
No.
Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
All right, case closed. Thank you.
contact person. His name and his address. The applicant's name and address. Whoever posted the sign. Thanks. The next case on the agenda, case number 19305, Sheenale Spa, Inc., 662 Comac Road, Comac. The location of the property is the east side of Comac Road, 240 feet south of Henry Street. The property is owned SCB. The applicant is requesting variances to increase the maximum height of a wall sign from 15 feet to 18 feet, to increase the maximum area of a wall sign from 71 feet to 113 square feet for a proposed 113 square foot wall sign.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chi Wei, last name Qi, first name Wei. I'm here for location.
Address, is the address?
The address is 662 Comac Road, Comac. And then I'm here for just to make my sign bigger and then, like easier, the people easier to see my sign. And then which is, I think it's understandable because all my neighbor is the same size of the sign I wanted. So I just want to make it all even. And then, cause the sign is a little far away from the road. So, and then also the road, car speed, it's pretty fast. So if my sign is make it bigger so they can see better.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions?
Signs are all the same now, the ones that are there?
Yes, they're all the same size of my neighbors.
I believe we've given height variances on this center before, the same height.
Yeah, so you can see in the photo that all of the signs for that shopping center are all within the same height range.
Okay, anyone else? Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina.
Thank you.
Would anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Case closed, thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19308, Renee Ramirez, 45 Dorchester Road, Smithtown. The location of the property is the west side of Dorchester Road, 55 feet west of Eaton Path. The property is owned R15. The applicant is requesting a variance to permit environmentally sensitive lands to be altered where depth of groundwater is equal to or less than 10 feet for a proposed 12-foot by 24-foot in-ground swimming pool.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Renee Ramirez, 45 Dorchester Road, Smithtown, New York. Okay. Hi. So I'm here today requesting a variance to install a small 12 by 24 pool. Because it is a relatively small pool at 12 by 24, it will be well within the setbacks of 8 feet that are allowed. The majority of our surrounding neighbors in the area have pools, and 3 out of our 5 immediate neighbors they also have pools. We have not heard that they have had any water issues with their pools or with their property. So we would appreciate if our variance request considered, so we can also enjoy a pool on our property.
It's my understanding there was a test hole done.
Sorry?
You did a test hole already.
Yes.
What was the results? We got it.
You have them there. I believe they were 6 feet, I believe.
Yeah, 6 foot. Okay, anyone have any questions? Planning?
No, thank you.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, case closed, thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19302, Margaret Butler, 2 Maywood Place, Kings Park. The location of the property is the southwest corner of Maywood Place and Dudley Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit temporary living quarters for a child, a variance of a special exception standard to increase the floor area of the temporary dwelling unit from 654 square feet to 1,045 square feet, to reduce the rear yard setback from 50 feet to 33 feet, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 9 feet for a proposed 795 square foot first floor addition.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jake Kohler, Kohler, of Todd O'Connell Architects, located at 1200 Veterans Memorial Highway in Hauppauge. And I'm here this evening on behalf of the Butler and the Cristiano families regarding their home at 2 Maywood Place, Kings Park, located in the R10 zoning district. The family is proposing an 813 square foot, 1-story addition to the side of the house, which together with the conversion of the existing attached garage will create a temporary living quarters for Miss Margaret Butler, the property owner. Her daughter, Miss Eileen Cristiano, along with her family, will reside in the main house. Although temporary living quarters are permitted by special exception under the code, the proposed unit has an area of approximately 1,045 square feet, exceeding the 654 square feet limit, and therefore will require an additional special exception variance. While the size exceeds what is typically allowed, Ms. Butler is downsizing from a 2,500 square foot 2-story home and is looking for a space that allows her to comfortably age in place with adequate clearances for accessibility and enough room to accommodate her belongings without feeling overly constrained. It's also worth noting that even with the proposed addition, the total FAR for the property is still well below what the code permits. In addition, we're requesting 2 area variances for the proposed 1-story addition, a side yard setback of 9.19 feet, where 12 feet is required, and a rear yard setback of 33 feet, where 50 is required. Now, although these area variances are required, the requested relief is necessary to accommodate a safe and functional multi-generational living arrangement. Due to the existing layout of the home and the constraints of the lot, there's no feasible alternative location for the living quarters that would avoid variances without sacrificing essential functionality and aesthetics or requiring the removal of existing accessory structures. The proposed configuration represents the most practical and appropriate solution for the property and is in line with other homes in the neighborhood. For example, the house directly across the street at 1 Maywood Place sits on a similar irregularly shaped corner lot and has an approximate rear yard setback of 30 feet. So with this context in mind, we believe that the addition we are proposing is in keeping with the character of the existing home and neighborhood. We've also submitted a written narrative addressing the required special exception standards under Section 322-94G and 322-82 of the Town Code, outlining how we comply with both the general and specific standards applicable to temporary living standards and ensuring compatibility with the neighborhood and avoiding any negative environmental or visual impacts. So in closing, we respectfully request the board's approval of these requested variances and believe that the proposed improvements are both modest in size and necessary for the family's evolving needs. Also that we feel that this home and this addition integrates seamlessly into the existing character of the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
I believe we have a PAR from planning that recommends approval. You want to elaborate, or?
So we reviewed the application. We took a look at the neighborhood to see if the adjoining homes and the other houses in the neighborhood had similar types of setbacks or floor area, what have you. The proposal seems to fit within the character of the area. As far as the increase in the size of the temporary living quarters, it's been the board's position that sometimes the 600 square feet or 650 square feet is not really enough, and they have granted variances for the increase in the floor area in the past. Therefore, we recommended approval.
Thank you. Sabrina?
No, thank you.
All right. Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? Being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Case closed. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19303, Michelle Kuban, 27 Bristol Lane, Kings Park. The location of the property, the south side of Bristol Lane, 43 feet south of Ardmore Place. The property is owned R10. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit temporary living quarters for parents. A variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 11 feet, to reduce the total side yard setbacks from 28 feet to 25 feet for a proposed 18-square-foot side portico addition.
Good evening again. My name is Jake Kohler of Todd O'Connell Architects, located at 1200 Veterans Memorial Highway in Hauppauge. And I'm here this evening on behalf of the Ricardo and Cubbin families regarding their residence at 27 Bristol Lane in Kings Park, which lies within the R10 zoning district. The homeowners are proposing a 109-square-foot, one-story addition to square off the rear of the home, along with interior renovations and a garage conversion to create approximately 573 square feet of temporary living quarters for their parents. This use is a special exception under the town code pending approval by this board. As part of this project, we are also proposing a 3-foot by 6-foot portico over the new side entrance to the living quarters, which also requires 2 area variances. Due to the existing placement of the home, the portico would be located at 11.5 feet from the side property line. The minimum required side yard setback for the R10 zone is 12 feet, so we are requesting a variance for a 6-inch encroachment. Additionally, the required side yard aggregate is 28 feet, and the portico reduces the total side yard aggregate from 28.3 feet to 25.3 feet, requiring a second area variance. Although these variances are required, the relief we are seeking is minimal. The 6-inch encroachment into the minimum side yard and 2.7-foot reduction of the aggregate side yard are modest and in line with other homes in the neighborhood. For example, the house directly next door at 29 Bristol Lane sits at about 8 feet from the property line, with an estimated aggregate side yard of 16 feet. So with this context in mind, we believe that the addition we are proposing is in keeping with the character of the existing home and the neighborhood. Given the home's layout and lot constraints, practical alternatives are limited. The portico provides essential weather protection for the new living quarters entrance and cannot be relocated or redesigned without sacrificing both function and aesthetics. Just like the previous project, we've also submitted a supplemental narrative addressing all applicable special exception criteria under Section 322-94G and 322-82 of the Building Zoning Ordinance, demonstrating full compliance with the town code, including neighborhood compatibility and safety. So in conclusion, the additions and alterations we're proposing are modest in both size and scope, and we do not anticipate any significant disruptions to the property or the environment. Both the design and placement of the addition and portico have been carefully planned to integrate seamlessly with the existing home and the surrounding area. We request the board's approval of these variances, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Anyone have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning.
Planning reviewed the application. We prepared a planning advisory report. Based on our review, we recommended approval.
All right. I don't think we have a secret, Sabrina?
Correct. The current application to enlarge the existing single-family residence does require approval from the Department of Health. We need this information in order to complete our environmental review. We have notified the applicant's representative, so therefore no decision will be made until we receive that information.
So you're aware there'll be no decision tonight?
We submitted the application. I'll send you the information.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Motion is second. Case, all in favor?
Aye.
Case closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19306, Thomas and Julie Van Schuyler, 3 Susan Drive, Fort Salonga. The location of the property is the east side of Susan Drive, 177 feet south of Breezy Hill Drive. The property is zoned R43. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit temporary living quarters for a child, a variance of a special exception standard to increase the floor area of temporary living quarters from 1,000 square feet to 1,028 square feet, a variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 60 feet to 58 feet, to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 35 feet to 20 feet for a proposed 810 square foot side entry garage addition, to increase the square footage of an attached garage from 750 square feet to 1,290 square feet for a proposed 810 square foot attached garage addition to an existing 480 square foot garage, to increase the maximum occupancy in the required rear yard from 750 square feet to 1,240 square feet for an existing 1,028 square foot two-story barn with attached 212 square foot shed, to reduce the minimum distance from any lot line from 10 feet to 8 feet for an existing barn and shed, to reduce the front yard setback from 60 feet to 7 feet for an existing 5-foot metal fence.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Tremarco. I've submitted the affidavits of posting and mailing to Mr. Donadio. At the outset, I'd like to thank the planning department and specifically Blaze for writing up such a good report. He's making my job a lot easier. One thing I'd like to clear up is one of the recommendations in the PAR indicates that the variance for the attached garage from 750 to 1287 for a proposed 810 square foot garage, the reason why the recommendation says approved for only 810 square feet is because the existing garage, and Blaze will correct me if I'm wrong, has been improved to a living space. So, but the kind of, the denial really didn't make sense, and I guess that's why the report writes to 810 square feet only. But that 810 square feet is attached to the old garage, which again is living space, and that's why it's limited to 810 square feet. I hope I'm as clear as Blaze was with this recommendation. The special exception for living quarters is for the Van Schuyler's daughter. The request we feel is de minimis. It's 28 square feet from the permissible allowance, in this case of 1,000 square feet. Variance to reduce the minimum front yard from 60 to 58. Again, We believe it's de minimis. Variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback for a side entry garage from 35 to 20 square feet. Again, it was recommended to be approved, and the PAR report rightly points out that the side yard requirement is really 24 feet. So if we're asking for a side yard request, it would only be 4 feet. And the report also indicates that the, I don't know if the shape of the lot should be shown on there. It's a peculiar pie-shaped lot, and what the report brings out is the side entry garage wouldn't have any effect on the adjoining neighbor, given the fact that the adjoining neighbor is approximately 75 feet away from where that side entry garage entrance would be. Whether the variance to increase the maximum occupancy of the rear yard from 750 to 1,240 for an existing 1,075 two-story barn with an attached shed. Again, it's recommended that it be approved by the Planning Department. Variance to the distance to a lot line from 10 feet to 8 feet for an existing 1,075 square foot barn with attached shed. Again, the recommendation is to approve. And a variance for a front yard setback from 60 to 7 feet for an existing metal fence. The PAR report indicates something that really makes a lot of sense. It's an estate fence, and the report indicates that with an estate fence, they're merely black railings. You can look at the pictures submitted, so you can see right through the fence. And part of the variance request is for the brick pillars that you see with the gates. So it makes a lot of sense. It's not a solid fence, as was stated in the PAR, so we don't feel it would produce an impact on adjacent properties or the neighborhood. Actually, it's really a very well-built, beautiful fence situation, and that's why they call it an estate fence. It makes it look like a little estate. Whether the variance is substantial, some of them seem substantial, but when you look at the reasons for the variance and the actual size of the property, we think the benefit to the applicant is much greater than any detriment to the community. Whether the benefit can be achieved by an alternative, well, I guess we could make the garage smaller, but it really doesn't make sense to do that. Obviously, the living quarters are necessary for the Van Schuyler's, and that's only a minimum additional 28 square feet. Whether the variance would have an adverse effect on the environment, we believe it wouldn't. Whether the difficulty was created by the applicant, well, some of the things the applicant purchased the property, it was already existing. Again, you can see it's a beautiful brick house, and we asked the board for its favorable considerations. I have the Van Schuyler's here if you have any questions. Thank you.
All right, we'll see if we have anyone on the board have any questions. Planning.
Well, being that Mr. Tramarko used the planning advisory report in his narrative, I will just say that we reviewed the application, and after careful consideration of all the requests, we recommended approval of the application.
Okay, and then the approval to 810 square feet is going to be sufficient for the building department?
Yes, I did have a conversation with the building official about that request in the denial letter, and pointed out that there was a prior Board of Zoning Appeals approval for, I'm sorry, that was for the rear barn. There was a previous building permit issued for a conversion of the existing 480 square foot garage to habitable floor area, which received a certificate of occupancy in 2019. So in effect, the previous garage went away, and we're now constructing a new garage attached to the house, which is a total of 810 square feet.
Okay. Thank you. Sabrina?
No, thank you.
All right. Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Case closed. Thank you.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19309, Edward and Samantha Sims, 38 Sherbrooke Drive, Smithtown. The location of the property is the south side of Sherbrooke Drive, 495 feet west of Barton Lane. The property is zoned R10. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit temporary living quarters for a parent, a variance of a special exception standard to increase the floor area of the temporary living quarters from 600 to 629 square feet. A variance of a special exception standard to allow a floor plan not economical or practical to convert back to a single-family residence. A variance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 40 feet to 38 feet for a proposed 629 square foot second floor addition. A variance to reduce the minimum side yard setback from 12 feet to 9 feet for a proposed 147 square foot first floor addition and the proposed 629 square foot second floor addition. And from 12 feet to 0 for an existing masonry grill and fire pit. Reduce the minimum distance from any lot line from 6 feet to 0 for an existing masonry grill. Increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the required front yard from 25% to 32% for existing asphalt paving. To increase the maximum permitted paved surface in the required side yard from 25% to 56% for existing asphalt paving. To reduce the setback of paving from any lot line from 1 foot to 0.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Carmine Grasso from Cataldo Grasso Architects, office at 14 Carl Avenue in Smithtown. I submitted a power of attorney and the mailing and posting affidavits as well as the mailing receipts. So I represent Eddie and Samantha Sims in their request for variances and a special exception for temporary living quarters for Eddie's elderly parents. Eddie and Samantha wish to provide a living space for his parents as they have physical ailments and need some assistance. The plan is designed to give them separate access from the outside while still providing a door directly from the second floor of the house. The stair from the outside was designed wide enough to allow for the installation of a chair lift if that becomes necessary due to their health problems. When the time comes that the space is no longer used as temporary living quarters, Eddie and Samantha will remove the cooking facilities and use the space as a master suite for themselves. We feel that this demonstrates that it is economical and practical to convert the house back to a single-family dwelling. So we feel that this variance request really is not necessary. I submitted a letter with this application describing how the proposal conforms with the general and specific special exception standards. The floor area of the special exception space is 29 square feet greater than the 600 square feet allowable area. We feel that it's really, it's only an approximately 5% increase, and we feel that that's a minor increase in the allowable area. With regard to the variance requests, the minor reduction in the front yard is needed for both aesthetic reasons and to provide a more usable floor plan for the living quarters for the parents. The reduction is caused by the second floor area where we're putting the addition overhanging the garage doors below it. The side yard reduction for the building is needed to allow for wider stair access, as I said before, for the new second floor for the temporary living quarters. The reduction for the grill has existed for over 5 years and is needed to provide clearance around the pool. If you look on the site plan, you see there's not a whole lot of room between the edge of the grill and the pool itself. The pool actually has been there for over 20 years as well. The paving increase in the front yard is very similar to many of the other driveways in the neighborhood. I drove by there and also looked at aerials, and it's a lot of them have widened their driveways in order to make room for additional cars. I think it would be wise to keep the wider driveway there with having the special exception to provide more parking for my client. And the existing paving in the side yard is to remain, and that's done there to provide access for the new entrance and also to get access to the rear yard. With regard to the area variance considerations, whether an undesirable change will produce in the character of the neighborhood, no, it wouldn't. The house is going to be similar in appearance to the other homes in the neighborhood. The minor reduction in the side yard for the house will not impact the neighboring property. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved some other method. No, this is the only place we can add onto the house and still provide suitable access to the temporary living quarters. Whether the requested variance is substantial, we don't feel that it is. The only requests that appear substantial are for paving in the side yard and the setback of the grill, and both of these items have been there for years without impacting any of the neighbors. 4, whether the proposed variance will have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood. We don't feel that there will. There'll be a minor increase in energy usage due to the addition on the house, but it'll still be in character with the typical single-family residence of this size. There's not going to be any increase in sanitary flow or stormwater runoff. All the runoff is actually currently directed to dry wells on the site, so any of the overpaving is already being contained. And then finally, whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, it is, because my clients have a desire to provide living quarters for their parents and help care for them, and this is the only way to do it, is by going for variances. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Okay, we'll find out. Anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning.
We prepared a planning advisory report reviewing the application. Just to make a note to the board, as Carmine had mentioned, on the denial letter, there was a variance requirement for a variance special exception standard that required that the use be economical and practical to be converted back to become part of the existing single-family home. And I pointed out to the plans examiner and the building department, the chief inspector, that in fact, the layout of that second floor addition did provide them with direct access to the existing single-family home, and the only requirement that they would have had to meet to make it back, convertible back to a single-family home, was remove the kitchen. So in our opinion, in the PAR, we determined that the request was not needed. Therefore, we did not even address it in the PAR.
Sabrina?
No, thank you.
Anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? There being none, we'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, case closed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
The next case on the agenda is case number 19307, Dark Horse Holding Services, LLC, 221 Mount Pleasant Road, Smithtown. The location of the property, the east side of Mount Pleasant Road, 257 feet north of Wisconsin Port Jefferson Highway. Property is owned NB. The applicant is requesting a special exception to permit a veterinary office.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the applicant, Brian Kennedy, partner with Forcelli Deegan Toronto, with offices at 100 Motor Parkway, Hauppauge, New York. As Mr. Donadio indicated, the applicant is before you this evening seeking a special exception permit to conduct a veterinary practice at the subject location. Dr. John Corso was raised in Smithtown, and after attending veterinary school, came back to Hauppauge to work and raise his family. For the last 12 years, he's worked at a veterinary practice located in Hauppauge. After spending his career providing essential care to pets in our community, he has decided to start his own practice. He's identified the subject location as the perfect place for that practice. The subject property has operated as a medical office for decades. His plan is to maintain the office use. Now, should this board look favorably on the application, Dr. Corso will renovate and update the entire site as well as the existing building. The entire first floor will be renovated to become a state-of-the-art veterinary practice. The existing dormer on the second floor will be removed, and the second floor will be converted back into storage space. Now, Dr. Corso's practice focuses on animal wellness. He treats primarily cats and dogs, family pets. He will be the only doctor in the practice. He will have one receptionist, one administrator, and one nurse at the site. The proposed hours of operation are from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on weekdays. He will work 8 to 2 on Saturdays as well. There will be no overnight boarding of animals at the facility. In preparing this application, Dr. Corso retained VHB Engineering to conduct an acoustic study on the subject location and his proposed use. Ultimately, it was determined that all predicted sound levels from the facility will remain at least 5 decibels below the existing ambient sound levels at the property. A copy of that report was provided to planning for their review as well. The proposed plan complies with all zoning requirements and provides more parking stalls than is required. As I indicated, Dr. Corso, who's present with me here, is a longtime member of the community looking to update an existing facility in our community. The proposed use is consistent with the surrounding property owners. As noted in the planning advisory report, the application meets the 13 general standards required for a special exception permit, as well as the 4 required for a veterinary practice. With that, I'd ask that this board look favorably on the application and welcome any questions you may have.
Okay. I believe anyone on the board have any questions?
No, thank you.
Planning?
We recommended approval.
Okay. We don't have Suffolk County planning recommendation,
Do not.
so we can't make a decision on this.
Was the referral made?
Yes.
Yeah. Usually we'll have it by the next meeting, right?
At the very latest, yes.
Yeah. Sabrina, did you have anything to add? Well, we'll see if anyone in the audience like to be heard on this application? No? So what we'll do is, obviously, when we get Suffolk County Planning's recommendation, we'll act on it immediately, but at the earliest we can do that is the next meeting.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Entertain a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, case closed. Thank you. You too. Is that the last case?
Yes.
That's it? That's the end of our cases for tonight. Let's see, case 19250-655 Middle Country Road LLC. I guess we'll have a little bit of discussion on this because we're going to wait until next meeting. And that'll be good, you think? Okay. So, no action. Case 19298, John Young.
Okay, on case 19298, I'll make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved, 5-0. Case 19300, we have pending secrets or no action. Case 19301, Neon Court.
On case
I think we have
Yes,
comments,
I
yeah.
have a comment for the board. Just for the record, our seeker is based on our understanding that there are no additional bedrooms being added to the existing four-bedroom, single-family dwelling. Otherwise, an increase in number of bedrooms would require approval from the Department of Health.
Okay. Do we want to add that as a,
putting
just
it
so
on
it's
the
on the
record.
record?
Yep.
Okay.
On case, 19301, I'll make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved, 5-0. Case 19304, Thomas Sinelli.
On case 19304, I'll make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved, 5-0. Case 19305, Sheenale Spa.
On case 19305, I'll make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries, 5-0. Case 19308, Renee Ramirez.
Case 19308, I'll make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second.
All right, motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, approved, 5-0. Case 19299, Lauren Gorin is adjourned to June 10th. Case 19302, Margaret Butler.
Okay, on case 19302, I'll make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, approved, 5-0. Case 19303, we don't have a seeker on that, so there's no action.
Okay.
Case 19306, Thomas and Julie Van Skyler. I believe you have comments, Sabrina?
It was just to reiterate a comment from Building Department regarding an encroachment, just for the record. But it was noted in Building Department's denial that the existing northern 4-foot chain link fence. Existing northern 4-foot chain link fence encroaches into the neighboring residential parcel to the north.
And that was in the building department?
Building noted it on their denial, so we were just reiterating it.
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, I guess I'll read each one individually. The approvals? Well, you need to do that, or you want me just to?
Well, one of them was modified. Right. So just, I just approve all the ones that are approved and then go through the one that is to 810 square feet, because that's all they needed, right?
Okay. All right, so I'll make a motion to approve all except for the variance to increase the square footage of an attached garage from 750 square feet to 1,287 square feet for a proposed 810 square feet garage addition to an existing 480 square foot attached garage, approved for 810 square feet only.
Okay,
Is that okay?
yeah, we need a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Now, case 19309, Edward and Samantha Sims. I believe we have a PAR on that one as well.
Right. I'll approve everything, but there's one that I'll have to, yeah, right? On case 19309, I'll approve, make a motion to approve the application as presented, except one of the variances of a special exception standard to permit a floor plan that is not commercial or practical to convert back to a single-family dwelling. Deny without prejudice.
Okay,
Okay?
motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. And case 19307, Dark Horse Holding Services LLC. Comments from DEW?
Our secret determination is limited to the one special exception variance currently being requested for the conversion of existing interior space from medical office to veterinary office/animal hospital use. Any future proposed development of the site will be subject to further seek review where applicable.
Okay. Now on the merits.
No action, right?
Oh, correct. We don't have Suffolk County Planning, so we have to wait.
If I was aware of that, I would have contacted them directly.
Okay.
I didn't know.
All right, well, hopefully we have it by the next meeting. And then we have stuff from last meeting, I believe. Case 19264, does anyone have their notes on that?
No, because I didn't see it on the back.
311.
It wasn't listed.
Why don't I have 311?
Yeah.
Does anyone have their notes from 311?
AR prepared for that application.
There was a
Because,
PAR?
yeah, it's a special exception for temp living quarters.
Okay, is it in our packet?
No.
It's not in this packet, it was in the previous packet. But we recommended approval of the application.
Okay, and then seeker is just type 2, so.
All
Okay,
right,
so
so
you
I'll
want to
make
make
a
a motion?
Okay. On case 19264, I'll make a motion to approve this application as presented. Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, Gay were you here on, no, you weren't here on 311, so
Yeah, John.
John was here, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, it's-
Right.
so 4-0?
Yeah, so
Is that right?
motion carries 4-0. And then the next one is 19292, James Henn. I believe that was on 422. Gay, you were here for that one.
Yeah. Yeah, my notes. The pool is only 6 feet deep. That's what my notes say, and then he's lifting that pool, am I correct?
He's, yeah, in essence, he's bringing the grade up to the
Yeah.
pool. And I think he's gonna be, what, like,
So, yeah, our comment was that, just for the board, the proposal to construct a 6-foot deep pool with a depth to groundwater of only 2.7 feet raises concerns regarding dewatering and potential groundwater contamination, but just for the record.
Do we need to put on the record that they would have to dewater the,
he was bringing it up so he wouldn't have to do it.
If they have to do it, I don't, you know, it depends on if they encounter that when.
well, that's
they-
just the building department would require that.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
Otherwise, they'll just have a pool. Okay.
Okay.
You want to make a motion?
Yep. On case 19292, I'll make a motion to approve this application as presented.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries 5-0. And that is that.